So this clickbaity video, which is very clickbaity, is basically, I've called them 10 out of 10 masterpiece unspoken fragrances. What a masterpiece is quite subjective, really. I mean, even, you know, people who call Leonardo's work masterpieces, that's subjective to them and people in the art world, etc., isn't it? You know, Jeffrey from who works in the bakery, Greg's, isn't necessarily going to find some of Da Vinci's work a masterpiece. He won't understand it or get it, so it's all very subjective. These ones, yeah, I'd say most of them I'd consider masterpieces. And to be a masterpiece to me, it has to be something that stands out. It has to be, what I mean by it is, it's the best of its type, or it moves you, or it's just fantastically unique. But unique, again, doesn't necessarily give it that. Unique but wearable and enjoyable. And that's where I'm kind of going with this. And it being me, these are ones that are not often kind of mentioned. It could be another clickbaity thing here, hidden gems, hate that word, but it could be like along that like kind of path, if you get what I mean. So yeah, don't need for a long introduction, just get into it. Now we're going to start off with my most recent buy, and you say, how do you know it's a masterpiece? I've sampled this to death and managed to get myself a big bottle. And there are a number of repeats of houses in this, but I'm trying to go about ones I don't always mention, so it is what it is. Anyway, Amouage Goldman. Now this, I believe, was their first male fragrance, and it is from the 80s. I was a little bit disappointed to have got the new bottle, because what was advertised was the slightly before, you know, the big square box ones. Don't matter, still smells great. What is Goldman, and why do I think it's this masterpiece? Well, Goldman, it opens up, there's a lot of lily of the valley, and rose and aldehydes, and this is what makes you think of Chanel No. 5. It has that certain life to it, but what you also get coming through under it is, I am wearing it, is some civet, which gives it this little bit of a naughty, dirty touch. And maybe some of the florals, like the jasmine, might be a little bit indolic, not overly, and especially not in this new one. And really the civet comes through more in the far dry down. It's there, but maybe I don't notice it as much. I don't think it's there as much in this. I would imagine this is a reformulation or new batch, as brands like to call them now. It's still good, but what it is in the early stage, like I say, Chanel No. 5, and then it's kind of this classic spicy resinous fragrance of its time, and then in the dry down it's a little bit kind of, it goes more powdery and musky, and all these things come together to create this kind of, I hate, again, another term I hate, kind of rich men fragrance. It's not that, but it's a fragrance of just pure class. Does it smell dated? That's again, that's subjective, isn't it? Does it smell like a fragrance that would have existed then? Yes, but you know, not all of them were Amouages. It's got that Amouage magic about it, the bits of incense, the dirty and the clean going together magnificently. Its transformation into different things, it's kind of chameleon attributes. Now even the formulation I've tried, which was by far not the old one, was very strong. This one is strong, but it's not as beast mode, and I think in a funny kind of way I kind of prefer that to just to be a little gentler and a little more wearable. I'd say, you know, one spray of my sample used to blow my head off. A couple of sprays from the bottle sits nice and gentle with this one. Things get reformulated, there's no point whinging about it, is there? And Amouage have changed a lot to a brand that's more about the bottom line, and than anything. I think we all know that. But that's gold, man. I don't need to waffle on so much about it. It's just a classy, elegant 80s kind of powerhouse floral aldehydic resinous bomb that very much has stood the test of time. So that's a Goldman from Amouage. Next is from One Way Bridge. A couple of these in here as well. Ones perhaps I haven't spoken about or are newer. And the first one is Top Shelf. Now I've always said I own the solid, which is a little bit tamer. And similar to the last one, it's basically, if you imagine yourself in a pub, there's loads of the smells of the booze, a kind of Wetherspoons sticky carpet, but new. It's not festered yet. It's just that smell of a pub with the rich liqueurs and spirits and beer and that all in the air. And then underneath, a sheepskin rug that this burly lumberjack who's got a very hairy chest, who's just come back from work, and he's been rolling about in it, so it smells of booze and a little bit of sweat and a little bit of grr musk and all that stuff. And that's kind of how it is. It's your hairy chested lumberjack having a drink after work and all the kind of smells associated with that. And literally when you smell this, that is what you're going to smell. It's so fantastically done. It's kind of based around the owner and perfumer Elisa's dream man. And yeah, it just smells like that. It's magnificent. There's nothing else out there like this one. It's beautifully blended and put together. You know, this could be an Amouage, to be quite fair. It's that well made, and it's unique. I've not smelled anything like it, nor am I ever likely to again, I don't think. So yeah, that's from One Way Bridge is Top. So yeah, next is another indie brand, definitely a 10 out of 10 one, and it's called Purple Rain, and it's from Aromatics. Now, I've spoken about this a lot, but there are so many I love from this house, and this is one of my favourites, but there's so many I adore in there. But this one is, all the fragrances are kind of based around naturals, and the clue's in the name what this one is. It's basically purple flowers, and which is late spring, early summer generally round here. And in there, I mean, I'm not going to list every note, and I think I get things that aren't in there, but it's got your violets and your lilac. I think there's quite a dose of hyacinth, maybe some wisteria, a bit of lavender in there, and it literally does. If you're from the UK, I'm sure it's the same in other countries, but if you're walking through the woods or like a wild area, the purple flowers fill the air with this fresh, vibrant, greenish purple colour. It's so sweet, it's intoxicating. But obviously it's not like jam, because there's all the other, you know, the green and the woods and the grass and all of that is in there as well. And that's what Purple Rain is to me. It's kind of captured that moment, that warm day, with these purple flowers all filling the air. Tanya's German, so I imagine they're pretty similar flowers and greenery around them, and maybe it was inspired by a walk out there on a sunny day and that. And it just, something about purple flowers, you know, like violet and lilac, that just, they relax you. I think they can be quite, you know, sexy as well when they're dark and that, but like in a spring kind of floral day, they're just relaxing and calming, because it takes us to that place, and this literally is like spraying that place on you. Obviously it's wearable, it's perfumey, but it's gorgeous. So that's Purple Rain from April Aromatics. So next is another Amouage labour of love that took me a long time to get. I mentioned it a few times I think now, but it's fairly new to me owning, and that's Amouage's Silver Oud Opus 13. This is pure luxury. Again, it's just an amazing fragrance. It opens with this kind of dirty, kind of pissy, almost fecal kind of civet, with surrounded by the. That passes fairly quickly, and to be honest with you, I can barely smell it now. Sometimes I notice it. It's not one you'd go 20 sprays with anyway. And then it's just surrounded by woods, beautiful, magnificent woods, and this gorgeous Cambodian oud in the base, which is this kind of, not quite nutty, but that kind of clean, beautiful kind of oud that you get. With a little bit of kind of sweetness about it, but it's a resinous sweetness. There ain't much sweetness in this one at all. And then coming through is this silver birch tar, which is smoky, and as the name suggests, I suppose it gives it this kind of silver edge to it, mixing with the woods, and it gets more and more and more smoky, like properly filled with smoke. Maybe there's incense in there as well, and I always think there's this kind of silver twinkle in there, like a silver strand of silk, which I associate with iris. Again, not a listing no, but I'm pretty sure there is something like that in there. And then it's all the resins that provide the sweetness. There's a kind of earthiness, the patchouli obviously, and cypriol, giving it this slight green tinge in there. But it's all really, it's the most woody fragrance I own, I'd say. And it is like, you often hear this, it's like a very Middle Eastern styled one, actually from the Middle East. I'm not talking about your Armafs and Latafas here. I'm talking about a proper Middle Eastern fragrance that they actually wear there, that aren't peddled to us. But do you know what I mean? It's got that kind of feel about it, like some sultan or some rich prince is going to be wearing this, and it genuinely does. It just smells perfectly made. There's nothing in it, there's no edges, there's no, this is a bit weird, this is a bit kind of, this smells a bit jarring or synthetic. It's just masterfully put together and shows off that Cambodian oud perfectly. And it annoys me because you'll see these people, oh, the oud isn't fecal or anything, it's not funky, whatever. Not all oud is, and very few ouds are, just a specific type. I've done this in a video already, but it's just noble, if you like, and the smoke finishes it off. I love smoky fragrances, but mixed with all these classy, elegant woods and greener touches and the sparkle of the spices in there, it's just magnificent. And you've always got that tiny growl, that warmth, that tenderness of the civet in the base. It's magnificent. So that's Amouage's Silver Oud Opus 13. Next, back to indie, and something completely different is from a new person, Mabelle Rama. I think I may have smelt this about a year ago now, actually, and it took a while to come out. It's sold out again now, but what this is one of them tropical seaside evening ones. No, it's not suntan lotiony, don't have a fit. Again, this is what I'm calling 10 out of 10 fragrances. It opens with this juicy, rich pear, and then that kind of fades away into the background as the tropical florals, you know, your frangipani, ylang ylang. There'll be, I mean, again, I'm not listing the notes, I'm just telling you what I smell and what it gets. And then there's a nice peachy touch in there, and it kind of, it's beautiful. It's so juicy and dark. It's like a cocktail with the actual fruits in it. We know what frangipani and gardenia, I believe, is in here. Kind of do that kind of thick, sweet, beautiful, enveloping floral feel. and there's a musk, and I think there's is it like a synthetic musk in there? There's a real, there's a musk that we're more used to, but I think there's this kind of gentle, well put in there synthetic musk that kind of pushes this and makes it smell clean, but with the, like I say, with the dark fruits and the flowers, it has this kind of naughty feel, like beachy fumblings and snugglings under the sunset, you know, with a sweet taste of the cocktails and everything. It's just so bright and happy and enjoyable with the natural kind of darkness that you'd see there. It's great. It's nothing like it whatsoever, really, but I'll mention it. Playing with the Devil is my kind of other darker tropical kind of thing. They're not the same. This one's much more floral and much more kind of, I think, sultry as well. But anyway, that's from Mabelle Rama, and that's called Forbidden Bloom. I just mentioned Kilian. None of these are discontinued. This has come back that I'm aware of at the time of filming, which is some point in, I don't know if we're in May or June, I can't remember what the date is. But yeah, now Imperial Tea from Kilian is this kind of perfect jasmine tea. It's all it is. It's as simple as that. In a kind of perfumey way. There aren't many notes listed, and I can believe there aren't a right lot of notes in it, to be fair. It's got jasmine tea. Maybe there's something ground in it in there, potentially a little bit of vetiver. Again, you don't really smell anything else, just a delicately brush strokes of jasmine, and you get that kind of sweet floralness of the jasmine. But with the tea, if you've ever drank jasmine tea, it's this, obviously it tastes of jasmine and green tea, but it has this tiny delicate touch of bitterness, and that comes from, if you slightly overdo your jasmine tea, it goes bitter. So you will never get it perfect unless, well, you can make me a perfect cup of jasmine tea where it doesn't have the bitterness. But I love it like this, actually. I love that little touch of it, and with the jasmine, and it's just so calming, like tea can be. And it is like meditating. All you've got in the world as everything passes you by is your cup of jasmine tea, and the universe is moving, and you're just still and there. It's not one that transforms or changes a lot. It's just absolutely beautiful. You're not going to wear it to go raving, but if you're going, you know, chill in the garden or go for a walk or something like that, it is absolutely magnificent. I don't need to talk lots about it. It's jasmine tea. So that's Imperial Tea from Kilian. Next up is a blind buy from about 7 months ago. The more and more I smell it, the more and more I love it. I've worn it in the warmth for the first time. We have had the odd warm day, and that's Fusciuni's Viole, which is, I cannot just describe it. It's created from this kind of these poems and his visage of it. It's a dry, barren, frosty day at the end of winter, and spring starts to come in, and this kind of dry, cold orris starts to get these sprouts of slightly sweeter violet. There is some other floral in there giving it a bit of sweetness. I want to say mimosa, could be mimosa. And the violet leaf as well, I believe, in there, giving the sweet greenness. And as it develops and grows, the violet comes through and blooms. Is there a plum in there to just kind of emphasize the violet a bit more, and it becomes sweeter? It's not a powdery violet bomb, it's not a make-uppy one. This is literally like the flower and the smell of the flower and the surroundings moving through from winter into spring, and it's magnificent. I don't need to talk about it loads and loads, but as someone who's a big violet lover, this hit the spot. I've got so many violet fragrances, nothing like this. For me personally, that kind of dry, potatoey orris in the opening scared the bejeebus out of me because I'm not a fan of it. But yeah, it transforms into this magnificent fragrance. It's very classy, it's very easygoing and again peaceful. So that's Viole Nere from Fusciuni. Next is another from One Way Bridge, and it's called Pitching Woo. Now Elise doesn't really do gourmands, thankfully. This is an ice cream that's got that gourmand touch, but it ain't a gourmand. It's there's no listed notes, so I could just tell you it has anything in it. But what it smells like to me is it opens kind of brighter, like a, it's not a sickly ice cream, it's really hard to describe it. It's like a warm ice cream at first, like this creaminess with this slight peachy hint in there. But what the main part in these first stages is a humbug sweet, which is like a mint toffee we get here in the UK, and it just kind of, it makes it so unique and so nostalgic for somebody like me. And then as it kind of grows, the ice cream, like a big thick rich gelato, kind of grows and grows. Again, it's not sickly. I'm sure there's something nutty in there. I want to say pistachio because it's a bit greener, but it could be any old nut. And then it starts to get a bit of a fizz about it, like it's one of them floaters, not Coke, but some other sort of fizzy drink with the ice cream sitting on the top. So like, as you can imagine, it's not particularly sickly or anything. And then it just warms up like warm ice cream, but not sickly or ice creamy, like I say. And it just lingers on like that, and you're kind of left with a kind of musky, woody, sweet, slightly fruity ice cream feel. I've never smelt anything like it. I mean, again, I'm not comparing because there's nothing like it, but the way Chiali's pistachio yummy whatever was described, this fits that more than what that does. I don't hate that fragrance, but it doesn't smell like how it was hyped and how everyone allegedly smelt it. This is more like it, but not gourmand. It's not sickly sweet or ridiculous. It's just very enjoyable. I think it might have been inspired by some gelato in Italy when she visited there. But yeah, that's Pitching Woo from One Way Bridge again. Next is from Electimuss, Persephone's Patchouli. I had a travel size this gifted to me for transparency. Doesn't matter how long ago it was or etc, does it? You have to say it. And this one, really, there are some in the range I really love. I'd say about 4 or 5 I've got my eyes on eBay on bottles and stuff. This being one of them. Now, clues in the name, it's patchouli. And there is a touch of what you perceive as pomegranate in it. Obviously to go with Persephone. But it's primarily, with the patchoulis, it's the plum, kind of sweeter florals. There's a lot of jasmine in this, and like a mildly fruity patchouli. I'd say the fruits don't overly stick out. It's like a fruit scented flavoured patchouli with the florals over it. Florals are not overly in your face. I think it might be rose. It's kind of got a little bit of a kind of classic rose jasmine kind of feel about it, and then I think there's cardamom in it, giving it this bright spicy sparkle. And the patchouli's quite a grainy one, and somehow it just all goes together beautifully and perfectly. And we all know the story, but I think that helps you see that. Obviously it's like below the earth, so you know, all the patchouli and that earthiness, and then you've got the you know, what's it called, pomegranate, that's it. with the florals being taken down with her, because obviously she's the daughter of Demeter, the person in charge of life and what have you, on the earth, all the flowers and greens and stuff like that. So it's kind of got that enveloped around her. Hard to describe this one. Like I say, a fruity, not quite a Fusciuni, but a fruity scented patchouli with the flowers and little bits of touches of the fruit around it. Very nice. So that's Persephone's patchouli from Electimuss. Finally, here's another Amouage. Don't own a bottle of this one yet. Will do, but I thought I'd stick it in again, rinsing my sample to death. Smith's Woman. Now, Smith's Man is without doubt a masterpiece. Smoky bonfires, iris, woods, this is chrysanthemum. This one, now in the opening, do I get chrysanthemum? I think so. Lily, I don't think lily's listed either. Carnation and other florals in there. And after that opening, the chrysanthemum fades away and is replaced by this narcissus. And the narcissus is magnificent, but it's kind of interwoven with the carnation. And the carnation provides this kind of, it's spicy, kind of dry, vintage floral touch. And the lily spiciness is in there, and then it sort of becomes greener and more watery. I think there's violet leaf and things like that in there. Not watery in the sense it's not thick. What it makes me think of, and someone else has said this too, is vase water with you starting to dying and decaying flowers. It doesn't smell indolic like that sort of decay. It actually smells like decaying flowers, which is a very specific kind of smell, isn't it? And that kind of lingers on as it kind of hits its main part. The carnation, the narcissus is drying out and kind of going a bit stagnant. But it's beautiful. It sounds like I'm describing a monstrosity here. It's not. It's absolutely stunning. I love dead drying flowers and decaying flowers and stuff. It's quite a magical smell. And then there's a leather that comes through under it, giving it this kind of smooth leathery texture. Is the leather listed? There's labdanum, so it could be coming from that. And it's just lovely, and as it goes and goes, it gets greener and greener, like the vase water is getting greener and greener. And again, the lily and the carnation, the narcissus kind of moves back a bit. Is there lily in this? Who knows? And again, I think it's often that association with the kind of death and decaying flowers, but it's beautiful. And then it kind of dries down into this warm leather carnation fragrance, basically. If you're not a carnation fan, you won't love this, but I think it just smells magnificent. It doesn't really even smell particularly vintage. You think of narcissus and things like that, and carnation. It smells modern. And exactly like I described it, like going into a florist and the vase water, the flowers starting to turn and stuff. It's beautiful, magnificent. That's Smith's Woman from Amouage. So I think that's 10. Hopefully, otherwise my title doesn't work. But they are what I consider unspoken about, kind of under the radar, hidden gem masterpieces. They're not going to be for everyone, and that again is what helps give it that title, I think. I think things like Gucci Guilty Absolute, which is now sadly discontinued, is a masterpiece. Can't stand it, can't wear it, it freaks me out a bit, but it doesn't take away from what it is. And that's what I think these are, beautifully perfumed by perfumers, you know what I mean. And they stand out and they're different, or they're kind of pallbearers, kind of legends of that kind of DNA and stuff. Magnificent fragrances. So what about you? What are kind of under the radar masterpieces to you? Do you have any? Would you have put any of these on the list and all that jazz? Right folks, thanks, bye.